Houston, Texas, the humidity capital of the world. It's time for Money for Lunch, where we feed your brain and your business with supersized portions of business and financial news. Now your host, Bert Martinez.
Hey guys, it's Friday. You've made it. Are you going to have a weekend or a strong beginning? That's a little weekend humor there to get you started. Hey, let's get rocking and rolling. I want to dive right into this. My first guest, best-selling author and lawyer, Hanna, Hasl, Kelchner. The no-nonsense lawyer is America's legal landmine expert and founder of the business consulting firm Business MO LLC and the Legal Leverage Academy. She helps executives, managers, and entrepreneurs achieve more business success by showing them how to anticipate predictable legal surprises. Hanna Hasl Kelchner has also been featured on MSNBC, Fox News, America's Premier Experts, ABC, CBS, you name it, she's on it, she's everywhere. Hanna, welcome to Money for Lunch.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here, Bert.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. Why do you call yourself the no-nonsense lawyer?
Well, for me, it's all about slicing through the BS and serving people by educating them. For example, last week I met this really fascinating woman who had this amazing story about her and her husband raising their family in Central America. Now, she's from Canada, but they decided to just have an adventure, and they moved abroad, and then they also spent some time living aboard a boat in the Caribbean, just traveling all over. And her husband kept this really
cool.
deep, yeah, it's very cool. I mean, just think about the courage it would take. I mean, leaving all your normal comforts of home behind and just setting out. And that's why they did it. They wanted to give their children a multicultural experience. And they're all adults now and are really thankful for having done that. I don't know. I think my kids would hate me for it. I don't know. But anyhow, her husband kept this detailed diary, and he turned it into a screenplay. Now, he's not a professional writer, but he recently came across a real bona fide screenwriter that has connections to Hollywood, and they want to collaborate. So her question to me was, we're excited about this opportunity, but how do we protect ourselves? So we had this really fun conversation about copyright and intellectual property and some things that they could do to make sure that, this is going to stay on the up and up. And she just sent me an email like yesterday saying, after our conversation, I now have clarity. And for me, that's what no nonsense is about. It's not being rough and tough and, I'll take you to court. No, forget that. It's about clarity so people can make good choices.
I love that. You know what? Clarity is power, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because, there's so many ways to slice things, and it's not so much about a right versus wrong decision, but a right versus right, and being able to evaluate the pros and cons that are going to get you further to the goal that you have set for yourself. That's really what success is about, being satisfied with the result of the choices you make.
Yep, I like that. Let me ask you this. I'm intrigued. Here you are, well known for the no-nonsense lawyer, but I also see that you co-authored Champions, Knockout Strategies for Health, Wealth, and Success. What prompted you to write that book?
I just loved the title. When I was first approached by the editors about contributing a chapter, I thought to myself, now how wonderful is this? Because in all my years of coaching executives, managers, and entrepreneurs, what I discovered over the years is what really separated the good ones from the great ones, from the champions, is their ability to ask questions. It was their leadership ability, and this title spoke directly to that must-have quality. So it was a real honor to be able to contribute to that book. It was a lot of fun.
I like that. All right. Let me ask you this. What is the most effective way for businesses to manage that legal risk?
Well, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but I think the most effective way is to do periodic checkups the same way you would manage your financial health. I mean, people don't go for years and years before they check their bank balance, and even your personal health, it's good practice to, have an annual physical and go to the dentist on a regular basis so that if anything is out of whack, you can tweak it and fix it before it kind of gets out of line. And one of the biggest mistakes I've seen companies make in working with them is to randomly put like policies in place, and they do a little training, but they don't necessarily connect the dots between it. And that means that their programs aren't necessarily effective. They're there, but, do they work well, or are people just, ignoring it and avoiding it? So those periodic assessments help identify where you need to tweak things so that you can get the biggest bang for your buck. I mean, like social media policies. Social media is everywhere, right?
Right.
Yeah, and so, you've got people on there on their personal accounts. Some people could be tweeting on behalf of their employers, but yet there's a lot of companies still in this day and age who, really haven't worked out a social media policy. So what happens if you've got an employee tweeting for you and then they leave? Whose account is it? The company's? The employees? What if they start bad-mouthing the company? Like was it last year? There was some Wall Street banker who left and wrote this scathing, I quit letter, and it was published in the New York Times. So yeah, it can get embarrassing. And for companies that don't have the deepest pockets, what do you do? So those kinds of checkups.
Hey, speaking of deep pockets, I got to take a quick break. I want you to hold on through the break. We got to pay some bills, and we're going to be right back talking about minimizing some of your legal risks with legal expert Hanna, Hasl, Kelchner. Hey guys, we're back. We're talking with America's no-nonsense lawyer, navigating you through those basic legal risks that all businesses have. Let me ask you this, Hanna.
Mm-hmm.
Does the strategy apply to all businesses? I mean, even startups?
Yes, and that may sound like a little harsh, but let me explain. You have to remember who owns the playground. Every business operates on a legal playing field, and so they can all benefit from a coat of armor and some protection. Now, of course, one size doesn't fit all, and this is where, small businesses, don't need as much as, a huge conglomerate like an AT&T or even a Google. But I think in some ways it's even more important for a startup company to be sensitive to these issues because they don't have as much in terms of resources as the big companies, which means when they make a mistake, they can't buy their way out of it as easily. It could mean closing the doors, and if they are looking for something like venture capital, having their legal house in order or at least being aware of those issues to be able to ask the right question actually provides an additional level of assurance for investors because they're less likely to be blindsided by a lawsuit. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing all the way around.
Well, I like your strategy of getting a regular checkup. I think most people would like to consult with an attorney once and then forget it. But it just makes sense if you are proactively taking care of your business, you're going to have to have this legal checkup. I love that idea.
Well, I think it makes a lot of sense, but some people are just scared of it because so much about the law is intimidating and expensive, and they're just afraid that, oh, my God, somebody's going to get into it. I don't want to deal with it. But if they realize that this can actually be a tool that can make them more competitive, that they can sort of judo flip it around to advance their business interests, I think that's where they'll get the most traction and come to realize that it can be your friend. It can save you money, but it can also accelerate your growth.
I like that. Accelerate your growth. Hey, tell me a little bit about your website. It's called the nononsenselawyer.com. Guys, again, it's nononsenselawyer.com. What can our audience find out about you there?
Well, they can find all about, my background, what I can help them with, but what I've done for your listeners, because I really think your show is special, is I've set up a special page where they could download my chapter from Champions, and actually it won the Editor's Choice Award. So there's good material, not just that I say so, but the editors have said so. And they can find that at nononsenselawyer.com/MFL, Money for Lunch, just abbreviated.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Give that out one more time.
it's nononsenselawyer.com/MFL, which stands for Money for Lunch.
I love it. Hanna, No Nonsense Lawyer, thank you for sharing your time with us today. Hope to have you back.
My pleasure. Great talking to you. Take care.
All righty. Guys, we're rocking and rolling. It is Friday. It's time to get ready. And I was going to say something funny, but then I lost my train of thought. That's the great thing about having a live show. Hey, have you written down your goals? I know I wasn't going to say this anymore, but it's the 1st of February. Guys, write down your goals.
Tune in Monday through Friday here on Money for Lunch. And check out our website at moneyforlunch.com.